Hello and welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review time. At last we have the Zvezda. This is the 1/48 scale MI-24 Hind helicopter, or alligator, crocodile, whatever you want to call it. Now, to be honest with you, I've been wanting to get my hands on this for a long time. Ever since, to be honest, it was first mentioned we were going to get a new tooled Hind 24. Now, the thing is, obviously Monogram did one of these a long time ago and it was all right, but it was raised and not very nice. And having built Zvezda's 72nd one, which is an absolutely beautiful little helicopter, I was really excited about this one because I thought we were going to take all the information and then they're going to put it into this. And then I saw some of the online photos of it and bits and pieces, and obviously if you're a Flooring Models member, you'll know we spoke about it in the forum. And I did mention that I was a little bit disappointed by what I'd seen on some of the sprue shots and things, as in there's no detail to it. And obviously, as we know, the Hind it's quite a tool. It's a bit lumpy bumpy and lots of panel lines and riveting and things like that, and really didn't see any on the kit. So I'm really hoping that actually that was just a test shot, and in the box, because it'd be the first time I've actually looked at it in the plastic, that it's a little bit better detail than we've seen. So anyway, here it is. Big old box, as you can see. Lovely box art on the front here, as you can see. Usual thing, we run around the actual box itself. So we've got some of the colour call-outs down in there, so it's giving out for Zvezda's colours and for obviously Tamiya's. A couple of big decal sheets by the looks of it. Okay, running around on the box, as I say. So your kit number for this one is 4823, and then as always with Zvezda, it's on the back, as we can see. And again, looking down on here, these look very, very similar to the test shots we've seen before. So as we can see, we've got a nice bit, we've got the gearbox up the top, we've got the actual engine, and some very nice things, which are very, very reminiscent of the 72nd one. So if we get in, let's say this is brand new, unopened, as you can see. We are still sealed. I haven't been in here at all. So hopefully I can now prise in. Zvezda will always get me with all their boxes about trying to open them. So anyway, in the box we are greeted by an oversized box, as always. What is it in these companies? Okay, so let me get some of these out. These bits here. Okay, let's put it down. Just stand this up again like that. Lovely. Okay, so let's start in the little booklet. So we've got decals in a nice big zippy bag. We've got a nice colour decal sheet and black and white instructions, as we can see just down in here. So usual thing, we've obviously got the sprues. We've got crew figures, which is quite nice for that tandem cockpit, as we can see down in there. We're using decals, and it looks like it's on flat surfaces, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's okay on 72nd, but it's nice to have a bit of three-dimensional texture, shall we say, actually on the cockpit as well. So fair enough. Anyway, we'll move forward. Going through engine, which, to be honest, looks extremely like the 72nd version. Okay, and then going through on the top, which again looks extremely like the 72nd version. Looks like we have got an upscale of the actual 72nd scale kit, if we're honest here. Okay, but anyway, we are going through. So we've got the engine areas, we've got the gearbox down at the back and the transmission. Then obviously down here we've got the engines being fitted onto the top. So again, although they're basic, it lends themselves quite nicely to a little bit of wiring, a little bit of updating, things like that. Down in the cabin as well, we've got down the fold down seats, and then we've got the doors, obviously open and closed position, and the same thing with these panels on the side, obviously for different versions, things like that. Opening up various holes, as you might imagine, right the way through on this one. Okay, and then some more internal details being fitted down and in. Same on the other side, it's basically a mirror. Okay, and then plumbing all the internals into this one. So we've got the main gear areas at the rear, and then the cabin, the forward sections, as you might imagine. And to be honest, this is following exactly the same as the 72nd version one. Okay, and then if you want to do, if you're going to go for sort of gear up, you can do it one piece gear up, or obviously gear down with the multiple ones. So we've got the pylons going in, and then we've got the sighting, the rest of the cockpit parts on the front. Pretty much standard to this one. Then we've obviously got the doors, we've got the actual, if you're doing it all closed up with the engines shut or in the open, you've got different types. You can have the open front or with the covers or the deflectors on the front as well for the actual intakes. gear being fitted down is in, and then obviously the weapons fit going on whichever armament fit you want to go. If you're going to go with tanks or rockets or guns, whichever one you want to do right the way over. We've got the flare pods onto the sides, okay, and then obviously you've got your chaff depending on which version you're doing again. So you do have the different selections down in there. The gun system. So again, you've got two different types of gun system on this one. You've got the flat and the domed one, and then obviously all the pitot tubes and the various parts being hung out on this one. And then we've got the filters onto the actual back as well. So we've got the filter systems being fitted in and those being fitted on, or you can just go with the normal version if you want to have them open. All right, rotor head being fitted, put together, lots of detail in there, which is quite nice. Obviously it's quite an integral part of the kit. And then obviously a tail rotor and the last bit's being fitted. Okay. Parts, basically, as you say, you've got all your stencil data down on this one right the way through, as you can see. I'm sniffing a rat. But we're going to move on and I'll pass judgment later. Okay, so again, we've got colour callouts and the various decal placements down on these, as you might imagine. So you've got that sort of classic version, or you've actually got the other ones down in here with the modern version in the sort of eggplant as well, as you're looking at these right the way through. And again, all the data points in there, as you might expect. Okay, so the decal sheet is in a nice thick zip poly bag, which seems a bit overkill, but there we go. We haven't got any protectors on these, unfortunately, but as you can see down here on the decal sheet, and if we look, you can see they're a little bit thick. So this can be a little bit thick, but normally I have to say, having built a few of theirs now, they go down very nicely. So you've got the ration and the check markings, very nice in there with that. And then obviously we've got some more of the details for the rocket pods and the various parts on this one again. Okay, so nothing wrong with those. Those will look very nice indeed. Now we're going to get into the kit. Okay, let's jump straight into the fuselage area, because I'm not going to mess around with this one. I want to know how plain this thing is. So, in sprue 1, I'll get it off, it's all a bit caught up, we can see we have the fuselage halves. And yeah, okay, let's just look at this together. Okay, where's the detail? It's on here, I get what they've done, but yeah, I'm a little bit flabbergasted how plain that actually is. I was expecting greater things. Now don't get me wrong, 72nd, this will be absolutely fine. But we're in 48 now, and okay, I've done both other scales as video builds. We've done the actual big old Trumpeter 35th one. I've thrown everything at it for a big old build, and we've done a quick live build of the 72nd one, okay, which is Zvezda's, and this just looks just like the smaller ones. And again, don't get me wrong, it's very nicely moulded and tooled and everything. It's just that, where's the surface detail? You know, let's face it, there's a lot of riveting goes around in this tail section and things like that, and to be honest, we haven't got it. So okay, we'll carry on. We'll make judgments afterwards. Okay, so here we have sprue. Which sprue is this? Is it B? I don't think it's actually got a sprue number on this one. Anyway, if we have a look around, we can look at some of the parts. So the internals, actually, none of them are too bad. You've got some nice details in there right the way over. We've got the wheels with the hubs and the centres and some of the parts. Everything's to be all right. But I don't know if you know, obviously this is like a macro system is picking this up, but you can see in here, it just looks a little bit not nice. Okay. And again, some of the smaller areas we got down in here, we've got the quilting, but it's got some ejectors in there and things like that. So, and then obviously we've got some of the parts and the panels on the sides, the actual engine panels, all the parts. We've got the flooring, again that doesn't look too bad, and things like that. And on the flip side, you can see it's not too bad. You have got some ejector pins over here for like up on the engine area. There isn't any in the wheel wells, which is quite nice, and there's none on the sides. And again, that's quite a nice touch. So the actual engines, if you're going to have them open and showing on the doors, there's no ejector pins in any of those, which is a nice touch. So actually that's not too bad. Okay, so down in here you've got sort of multi sprue, where you imagine different versions coming down in here. Okay, like the P and the various things like that. So if we start up in here, you've got the undersides. So you've got the sides. Again, bearing in mind this is the cockpit sides, there's very, very little detail on these, as in riveting or anything else like that. It's pretty devoid of all of that. And there's nothing on the underside around the front end. And we've got the actual sensors with the doors. Looks like they're just molded in the closed position as well. You haven't got an option of actually opening those up by the looks of it. We've got the cockpit, and we've got the chaff and flare dispensers on the sides. And again, cockpit areas, things like that. Pitot, various things down in here. And on the other side, again, cockpit's completely devoid of everything because it's all decals. And they're just flat panels. So a little bit weird with that one. Okay, engine works, all the various bits down here at the top, which actually looks very nice indeed. So again, looking around, you can see you've got a good starting point with the gearbox and with the actual engines. So that's not too bad at all. And again, down on the other sides, looking pretty good with some of those details. Again, all going to lend themselves very nicely to livening things up, shall we say. And again, it's quite nice down in here. We don't have any ejector pins down where you can actually see for the actual engine. They're a bit tucked around the corner, which is a nice touch as well. So you don't have to worry about any of those. All right, so that's quite nice. All right, so in car. Wait. Okay, so we've got the wings, pylons, rotors, things like that again in here. And again, I don't know what it is with the tooling, but you've got tooling marks in all of these. A little bit weird how that's been done. I'm not saying it's been done on the cheap, but just looks a little bit odd. Okay, so moving around, as you can see, you see those tooling marks down in there? It's unusual. Don't normally see that. Okay, filters, pilot crew, okay, with the legs fitting through. We've got the wing tip pylons down in here, and then moving around onto the other side, you've got the tail rotor, the rotor head, got the disco ball system, okay, different flare and chaff rotors, which aren't, well, they are sort of offset a little bit, so they've got a little bit of downward tilt into them. Hopefully you can see that. So actually that's not too bad. It's actually quite a nice touch. They're looking pretty good actually with those with the downward tilt. The figures, as you can see, they're a little bit basic to say the least. Not exactly anything you'd go wild about with that one. Okay. And last up, we've got the weaponry. So we've got down in here, we've got the fuel tanks, we've got the guns, we've got the rocket pods, we've got the missiles, and obviously side guns, things like that. And it looks like we've got the nose gun system down in here, depending on which versions this one will be carrying. And again, the various parts. And again, those actually do look very, very nice indeed. No problem there at all. Okay, so clear parts. Again, quite nice that it's in a zip bag because you can reuse it. So thinking recycling, as long as you can get it out. Okay, so clear parts. Actually, it's not too bad. There's a few scuff marks in there and all the rest of it, but generally I think that's pretty good. Quite clear. Windows. So actually I don't think that's a problem at all. It's actually quite a nice sprue. Okay. Alright, I'll be honest, I'm disappointed. This is not what I was hoping for. I was hoping, being Zvezda, let's face it, Russian star, you know, you'd expect if a company was ever going to release a helicopter, you know, kit of an MI-24, you would think if Zvezda did it, they would go to town on it. It's their home market, it's what they would know, they should be able to get good references, all the bits and pieces. I've got a Hind 25 miles up the road from me, and as I say, I can go up to that thing at any point and have a good crawl over it and all the rest of it, and probably come out with better details. And to be honest, that's what I did when I worked on my 135th Hind and all the rest of it. It looks like it's just lacking in surface detail pretty much throughout the entire kit. It wouldn't surprise me, and I know they can't do it, but we often talk about it's just an upscale of a 72nd scale kit. It looks like they've done something like that, okay? Because it's basically following on that brilliant 1/72nd scale, and you look at it and you think, do you know what, that's a fantastic looking kit. in 1/72 scale. You go bigger, it needs the details. Your eye needs to move around it more. I'll be expecting to see more of the riveting down the back end here and all the areas onto it. Some more of the surface detail, generally right the way over the entire thing. It's definitely lacking in details everywhere, internally on the engines, the cockpit as well, just having a flat cockpit. And I know, before everyone starts shouting at the screen, there's aftermarket for this coming out in abundance from three-dimensional printed panels and things like that for the internals. They look fantastic, don't get me wrong. I'd love to get some in to have a review of just of those on their own, but if that was so much part of this kit, why doesn't it come in the box? That's my point to it, so it's all very well having aftermarket, but the bit where the kit definitely needs aftermarket is the bit where I'm always a little bit wary of the said kit. Now, all of that said, and as you know, I like to put a positive slant on everything, it is still now the best 1/48 scale, because let's face it, the monogram one's just horrible, and it's a nightmare to go together and all the rest of it. It's raised detail and everything else, but that kit has got beautiful raised details all over it, where this sadly doesn't have any. And I think it is going to be one of those things that's going to be a little bit of a little thorn in people's sides, that it doesn't have the detail, and I don't think Zvezda have done it the justice that actually this helicopter deserves. So there we go, a little bit disappointed. That is Zvezda's MI-24V.